Hey, so today is the 28th of January, and on my seed schedule, I have my seed starting happening every 2 weeks. And so we started roughly in January 16th-ish. And so my next set is supposed to start February 1st, but I always start a little bit earlier than necessary because I have so many trays to do. I need a couple days, and I don't want to go later than when I want them started by. So I have my list. As you can see, I just keep the same one year to year unless I feel like there's a problem or unless I feel like I can move up a date by a few weeks. So this is pretty much the same as last year, except I did move up my Agrostemma a couple weeks because I think it likes that colder weather. So for February the 1st, which I'm starting today, I have to start Agrostemma or corn cockle. I'm going to start my second round of AMI. Now I am actually going to wait until February 1st to start that second round because I do want those successions to be exactly 2 weeks apart. So I'm going to give that some more time. I need to start my Mullein, the Verbascum, Southern Charm, and White Bride. Those are perennials. I'm starting those today. Let's see what else. Rudbeckia is one that I'm starting. That is also a succession planting. So starting today and then going every 2 weeks. Because I find that when you take that first cutting, it takes them a little while to bounce back. So it's nice to have a set. They are perennial, but it's nice to have a set that are at different times. So you're not harvesting all at once and you can spread your harvest out over the summer. I'm also starting those outdoor sweet pea. I'm actually going to wait on those because we're in the middle of our storm here that everyone's experiencing, and I want to put them out when it's above freezing. They don't have to be above freezing, but I just kind of want to give it a minute and see if the weather gets a little better before I put those out. And the other thing we're doing today is Yarrow, and I am succession planting those as well, even though the Yarrow I'm starting this year won't be good until next year. So this year I'm going to use Yarrow I planted last year, and we're going to see how that goes. So this is for next year. The other thing I have to do in February, aside from starting all those seeds, is I have to prune outside. I'm going to wait on that. Obviously, our weather's not ideal for that. I kind of want it to get above freezing before I do that. And I think that is it for February 1st. So like I said, a lot of that I'm not going to actually do until things improve outside. This, the sweet pea starting and the pruning. The sweet peas, I have to set up a pea tunnel and get that soil ready with the all the good stuff, you know, the fertilizer and the amendments and things like that. So I'm going to hold off on that until things improve outside. So I've already showed you how to seed start most seeds, and these seeds that I'm starting today aren't any different. They're pretty much the same. Most of them, actually all of them, are surface sown. They're pretty small seeds, even though you can see them a lot better. Apart from the mullein is small, so we're going to want to be really careful with that because those plants get really big. So I'm going to just go over each of these things that I'm starting. I'm going to explain a little bit about the plants and the flowers, and I won't show you how to start those. This is just the standard seed starting that we've done before. So Agrostemma or corn cockle, we are starting today, and I have 3 varieties. I have Purple Queen, Ocean Pearls, and Blush Queen, I believe the other one is called. Let me check on that. Sorry, the last one is called Blossom Pearl, not Blush Queen. I think I had a Blush Queen a different year. These are all from Johnny's. And this is something that I noticed when it set seed 2 years previous. The plants that came up from the seeds that were set 2 years ago were so much more vigorous and branching. I think I got like 10 stems off of one plant. Yes, we hear you. Shh. Whereas this year, oh my gosh, this is actually a different dog, by the way. I have twin sister dogs. Anyway, sorry, distraction. yeah, the plants that grew from the set seeds were so much more vigorous and amazing. And the plants that I'm starting this year, I will only get one cut off of those. So I've decided to do an Agrostemma patch. I'm gonna leave the second cuts to set seed so that hopefully next year I'll have a really rich, full patch of Agrostemma. And so care on these, basically they like the cold weather. You can set them out before the last frost, but I would say they're not as hardy as things like snapdragon and stock. So maybe not, don't put them out beginning of March, maybe mid-March would be a better time for that. I plant these fairly close because I'm only getting one cut out of them. I'm only going to be planting them about 3 inches apart. I'm not giving them a lot of space. Like I said, they're pretty wimpy in their first year, so they don't need a lot of space. Do not pinch Agrostemma. I just let them come up. I'm trying to think what else you need to know about Agrostemma. They don't really require any special care as far as harvesting goes. They're pretty standard. So I think that's it for Agrostemma. Just basic seedling care. Start them as we started the snapdragon. So basically the rule of thumb with every seed is the bigger it is, the more you can cover it. The smaller it is, the less you want to cover it. So that is it for Agrostemma. Just keep those watered and fed until they go outside at 3 inches apart. You do want to use Hortonova netting on these, some kind of corralling system with these, because they will fall over. Now, even the established plants will fall over, so they do require support. Okay, next on our list is the Ami. I've gone over that last time, so I'm not going to do it again. If you want to watch that video again, you are welcome to. Mullein is the next one. Now, mullein is a perennial, and I space mine out about a foot apart, even though it says 24 inches. I find you can cheat that a little bit, and it's always good to have them tighter together than loose because it blocks out the weeds. Now, the mullein does get rather large before it goes outside. So I am starting these in the regular 72 trays that I've shown you before that are behind me right here. But I will have to pot these up, and they do have a pretty good germination rate. So just if you're starting mullein, keep in mind that you will have to pot it up. So however many cells you're starting is however many big pots you're going to need later on. I think you could possibly pot them up into a 4x4, or actually a 2x2 would be fine. The measurements on these cells are about 1x1, and they might be 2 inches long, but they're 1x1 side to side. So I think you could get away with a 2x2 until they went outside. I don't pinch these, and I said I put these about a foot apart. These do not need support, at least as far as my experience goes, which has been one season. I didn't find that they fell over. They stayed pretty straight up and down. The mullein, they are very, very small. They're almost like the snapdragon, so just be careful. When seeding those, it's going to be a little bit more painstaking because, like I said, it has good germination. You don't want to drop 2 seeds into one cell. You want to be sure there's just one in there. Okay, next on the list that we're starting today is Rudbeckia. And this is a fairly simple, like if you want to get a good first season, you would include Rudbeckia in your list. It's pretty easy. It's a perennial. Now, I did have problems with my Rudbeckia patch last year. You guys are obnoxious. It was overcome by weeds, and like my Rudbeckia died out. And I think that possibly I was watering it too much. So just keep in mind, keep an eye on the watering. It doesn't require a lot of watering. It's a pretty good established plant. You know, it doesn't require a lot of care and attention. And Rudbeckia is a small seed, but it is visible. Like I can show you. I'm actually doing a new variety this year that I've never done before. This one is called Goldilocks. And you can see the seed right here. So they kind of look like miniature Mike and Ikes. And yeah, they're pretty easy to see. And also, I get it in a large quantity, so I do drop a couple in each cell because I can just pick out the extra seedlings. Rudbeckia, I plant about 9 inches apart, and I had a patch that went about 2 years and then I had to start over. So I think you can expect at least 2 good years out of it. I would plant them in tight. They do better when they're crowded. They do require some netting. Unless you're growing the triloba variety. The triloba variety does not require netting. It grows pretty thick and can sustain itself pretty good. Okay, next is Sweet Annie, which is something I've done in the past, and I do multi-seed this. I allow more than one seedling to remain in a cell, and it does better that way. When you just single seed it, the germination isn't as good. Now, as it grows up, you can start picking those extra seedlings out. The one thing I'll say about it is it's kind of an interesting plant. It has to be pretty aged before you can harvest it. It needs to be kind of stiff. It's really, it smells amazing when it's young, and it's really tender. It's beautiful. And then you'll start to notice that the stem gets really woody and thick, and that's when you can harvest it. It does require some extra care when you harvest. It needs to be hydrated pretty quickly. But other than that, I love Sweet Annie. So also doing a patch of that because it's one of those things that comes back better the second year. All right, Sweet Pea we've been over. The only difference between the stuff I started inside and the things I'm gonna do outside is that it's gonna go directly into the raised bed where it's going to be until it's done. So I don't really water it once I plant the seeds. I'm gonna do 2 seeds in a spot just to ensure that I have at least 1 in every spot, and I can transplant those extra seedlings as needed. I'm not really going to pay attention to the watering or to the fertilizing until it gets later in the season. I just don't want them to be dry. They do like extra water. You can water them pretty good. Okay, and then I think the last thing aside from the pruning is the yarrow. And I love yarrow. That's another one that's really good for beginning farmers. And I am starting summer pastels today, Johnny's. And this seed kind of looks like Rudbeckia, except at least this one is kind of white, so you can see it when it hits the dirt really well. But you can multi-seed these and then pick the extra seedlings out. This, like I said, isn't going to perform for me this year. It's going to perform next year. So that is the plan for today. I will show you everything once it's been set up on the light system behind me. Again, this is like standard seed starting. We're just filling the trays with dirt, surface sowing, covering with vermiculite, placing the lid on, putting it unheated on the light system behind me, and then when they germinate, I will get back with you and let you know. Okay, so here's the final setup of all the seeds we've started today. Same old, same old. I'm just gonna wait for these to be 80% germinated, and then we'll take these lids off and just monitor their watering, and yeah, when it's time, put them outside. So most of our stuff is going out March 1st. These that I started today will probably be mid to end of March that are going out. Okay, so I just thought I would add on to this video a little bit about seedling size and why I use this size tray with these first sets of seeds that I'm sowing. It's because these have to stay indoors until like March 1st, I want to say. And so these were sown on January the 10th. So they're not quite a month old. And as you can see, they're still very small, but they are going to get a lot bigger before they go outside. So we want to give them that room to develop a root system. Now, as the month goes on and I'm starting seeds, I'm going to switch from those deeper trays to a more shallow tray, such as this. It's more shallow and it's also smaller. And the reason why is because the seeds that I'm starting later can go out sooner, so they don't have to be indoors quite as long. And so I don't need to waste the soil. It takes about 5 to 6 quarts of soil to fill, these trays right here, whereas it takes a lot less to fill these. And The things I'm starting later on, like zinnia sunflower, they grow a lot faster than these snapdragon do. So as soon as they're ready to come out of this tray, they can go outside. So I hope that makes sense. So the longer they're inside, the more space you need to give them and the more room they'll need to grow. Whereas those later season flowers, you can put out pretty fast so they don't have as much time in their tray.